our Northern Rivers Plasma meeting for October 19th, 2019. And today we are going to have Mr. Keshe, who's a guest speaker for us. And so we're recording this. And does everybody want to just say hi? Okay. And so we're going to, here's Mr. Keshe, and he's actually joined. And so, hi Mr. Keshe. This is the Northern Rivers Plasma Group, and we're very, very happy to have you here today. And we all are excited to hear about all the news from the Keshe Foundation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Ah, that's good. Good morning or good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. I made an offer just to give a talk to a small group, as one of your new friends was retiring, a very hard worker for the foundation. He supports us heavily. And I didn't know I'm going to end up with Lisa again. I thought it's somewhere new and strange.
Thanks, Mr. Keshe. I know you love me.
So it seems that we are back with the old friends and people who know the foundation. We thought we found a new group, but we didn't know it's the same group. It's nice to be with you, and thank you very much for all your support. As you know, we are busy heavily around the world in the past few months, and strange enough, I'm very busy, not very far from you, just a little bit across the river in, or what they call the sea, in China. But I never get a chance to come to Australia. It seems Australia at the moment for us is too far to reach by physical condition. But we are making a lot of progress in around the world, especially in Australia, in different ways. As you are aware, the foundation has taken a new position in the past few weeks, and we have moved into a very what we call scientific, but working with governments. We moved our position than being just an organization and a research group and a very open platform research by everyone, into a very targeted organization where now through conferences around the world we are literally locking the Keshe Foundation into every government around the world. The position is very natural for us. It was a progress which would have achieved, would have come naturally, as we are literally affecting by technology many policies, be it agriculture, be it health, be it space, be it on the defense, and in many ways governments cannot ignore what is getting done. As we've been interfacing with governments for some 10 years, now we have made it official. And as you know, 2 weeks ago, we had the first conference in Vienna with diplomats and governments. This is led to setting up of many conferences to come. The next one is in 2 weeks' time in Brazil, which we are directly working with the offices of the governing party and the government in different aspects. And for example, what we saw in Vienna, all diplomats who took part are already engaged with the foundation to set up what we call commercial interface with their governments. We have received a invitation by diplomats to give conferences in their countries, which we did not really expect it. And so instead of going through steps with what most of you have done, and many Keshe Foundation supporters around the world, has brought us into governing position, that we deal with governments face to face. And in next 12 months, we'll see total different phase of technology. As you are aware, in Australia, Lisa and Jim have done a lot of work, which now brings us to what we call the next phases of our work in your country. We have a very good connections, and as many of you might know, my brother lives in Canada, in Australia. He's hidden somewhere in Australia, but in a way, through him and people we know, we are aware of what is going on totally in Australia as a whole with the Keshe Foundation. And you're too isolated, but you're too big. And now, hopefully, what we wanted to do some couple of years ago will come to fruition with what we call the industrial application of the technology in conjunction with the Australian government. We have a very thin but a very solid connection with your government, with your Prime Minister's office, through Keshe Foundation supporters that are aware of what we do. And in the long term, Jim and Lisa have done a lot of background work, which we see in next year, 2 years, will come to industrial and what we call investment for us. As you're aware, we have moved into the American stock market some 4 weeks ago. And as I said to the American authorities, which are responsible for these kind of operations last week, we moved the Keshe Foundation into American NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, in next 12 to 18 months. The foundation has a big problem in this situation, where up to now, usually when companies go into stock market, they go to look for funds. With the way now we have structured the Keshe Foundation, and with our own financial commitments, which we set up now, rolled out in past 2 or 3 weeks, we are not looking for a stock market to bring funds to us. We are actually funding ourselves through our own technology development. To the Americans, this is a very strange way to do it, but the reason I explained to all the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world is that, as you're aware, Keshe Foundation has some 200, 250 million followers around the world. Is the biggest scientific organization carried by people for people. According to American statistics, there is no organization as big as Keshe Foundation. At least the next 5 put together never reaches the foundation's work. But what is strange to the American organization and a lot of Keshe Foundation, why I took this step to take the Keshe Foundation into the stock market, which had a lot of repercussions and a lot of good things for us. The reason for it is, as you know, we are one of the, as I said, and you know, around the world, you are a very small group, or between yourselves, you've done a lot of work. We are not in press. We are not known in public domain. And we've been kept fully on the instruction of Fox Corporation worldwide. No mentions of the Keshe Foundation can be made in any news broadcast around the world. This is what was made by Fox Group, that by the pressure from Belgium and the monarchies. So since 2012, before 2012, there was many publications. We were getting a lot of exposures in newspapers and press around the world, and Fox made sure Keshe Foundation cannot be heard anywhere till they kill us, in a way, they die off. With such a move, it was very easy for me to see the weakness. I bought a company in American stock market, fully owned by me as a representative of the Keshe Foundation. As Keshe Foundation cannot enter in commercial activities, but as I've given all my wealth and my intellectual rights to the foundation, I'm just a tool for foundation to operate worldwide. And by putting the Keshe Foundation American stock market, Fox broke his back. In a way, if you go to Google, if you go to any news agency, CNN or whatever, by American law, they have to report us. So in past 4 weeks, I brought the Keshe Foundation internationally open. And as you see, we are holding back with the stock market. Americans have made a lot of move to hold it back through pressures from European countries. But as we are there and we release press release internationally, in the past 2 weeks, American and international markets have understood what is happening. In a way, it was a smooth, clever action, because now we only allowed 24 million shares to be in the hand of public. And public are playing with it. But in being there, it allows us to release press releases on a weekly basis. So in past, in past 2 weeks, we had 2 press releases. The next one is going out in the next 48 hours. That it shows what is achieved. And through this, governments have started taking notice, and has been very advantageous to us. We are not going, or we haven't gone to stock market to raise funds. We've gone to stock market to show we are here, you cannot cut us off, and trying to nominate or dominate. We have already, in past 3 weeks, been approached by 3 governments to organize the same conferences in their country. And in so many ways, now the governments understand gradually how the Keshe Foundation is going to be. And the Keshe Foundation is you, it's not me. People like you who make little pens, little pads, talk to the others, you help yourself with it, you're aware of it. And it's there for you to go, and when you need it, you use it. But the knowledge is free, but the knowledge is, in a way, used according to your intelligence. A lot of you play with it, maybe a little bit of gas for your tomato plants, or a little CO2 if you burn. But Keshe Foundation has moved in a totally different structure, that we're going to touch more or less a lot of governments, a lot of people directly. In Australia, you have a few people who are making a little bit equipment, medical here and there. In China, we are involved in massive trials. This weekend and today, 19th, 20th, over several million square meters of farming land is getting harvested in China using the Keshe technology. The first harvest coming in last week shows just over 34% increase in harvest in one area. We expect between 50 to 80% increase harvest in the main structures of the growth done by the government. And as you are aware, we are in partnership with the Chinese government organization on a 50-50 basis. And next week, in China, clinical trials in a very large scale starts for autism, for Parkinson, and for cancer. Um, this trial uses the new system technology we released, because what test has come out of China is very positive, and now they have asked us to go into the full scale Chinese level trials that allows the foundation to become part of the Chinese healthcare system. If you watched the Thursday teaching yesterday, we showed a man with Parkinson in hospital in China who came to us when I was in Guangzhou some 6 weeks ago in a wheelchair, the oilman from China Oil Corporation with Parkinson, cannot speak, hardly makes whispers, in a wheelchair, hardly be able to use any of functionality. In 4 days he walks. And today, as I speak with you, he is walking in the forest in China. His family have taken him for the first time walking in the forest. And we will release his video hopefully in next 48 hours. A man who had no hope to live and was literally preparing to die, now he's back with his family. He can go out. He actually wants to drive. And all that in less than 45 days. The progress with him and other people in China on the observation in the hospitals is the same. As I showed in the teaching of yesterday, the reduction in medication by 57% was so radical that today we decided that we carry on with the reductions, and in more or less 14 days he'll come to 0 medication. This has never been done. And the Chinese authorities are watching this progress, because now we realize how damaging the medication given to these people are. The brain surgeons who are with us in the team, the central government observing team which is watching, we just realized this week that all these medications given to these people creates worse side effects than ever thought, because as they were given medication, they never thought they'll come back. Nobody explained to them what it does to them. Now the people who are coming out of Parkinson, coming out of epilepsy, and coming out of what we call Alzheimer's are telling us that where the problem started, with which medicine we saw changes. And what we realized in past more or less couple of weeks is that Chinese medication is far worse, even generic from European and Western countries, far worse effect on Chinese than what we see in the West. This has become alarming for the Chinese health people, that what is going on, how fast there was such a huge number of what we call elderly, that their own medication is speeding it up by the side effects it has. So in that respect, in the next 2-3 weeks, huge trials is set up in China with the support of Chinese, what we call organizations. And for the first time, more or less ever in the history of medicine, the providers of the technology are paid to bring a technology to go into clinical trial. This has more or less, as we know, never happened. The Keshe Foundation has been given the rights to charge people who want to join a clinical trial, which is very unusual. You usually pay patients to take part. We're allowed to ask to be paid to run a clinical trial. And this is the reason for it is the evidence is so strong that the government does not see any reason for it to be subsidized, as people are, enough Chinese people are there to take up and join and be part of the trials, because they know from the beginning, from data we have in China, is positive. And the contracts are getting drawn up, hopefully from first week of November, we start clinical trials in China, which we have already put the request out to the KF China group to be prepared. And the strangest thing is they are allowing the Keshe Foundation supporters to purchase and put the systems into the hospitals, that the trials can be done, and they get benefited by the income from it during the trial. It's a very strange situation. And what we expect is more or less 100% recovery from Parkinson. The trial shows this. We showed the videos on Thursday. We showed the medicine reduction with what we call Parkinson with epilepsy. We'll release more videos, and this will change a lot of things. This week we have received an open offer from 2 nations to set up industrial zones, parks in their countries, and they'll support us fully. It was very strange for me last Monday sitting in front of high-level diplomats where we were told whatever you need, the government will provide. How fast can you start investing? How fast can you move in? Because we can be cheaper than China. We give you all the support. We have the labor force. Today or yesterday we received the invitation by Sudanese government to as a speedy conference in Sudan that the government can get gear to. And the way we set up the Keshe Foundation is to help people, to be there to change the cycle of poverty, to change the cycle of healthcare, which has become ruthless. At the beginning it looks we charge a lot, but in fact we are charging for those who can pay to make accommodation in next few 2 years, 3 years, for the care to become free for everyone. This is the long-term strategy which will pay off. You will understand very soon. Amongst us today, I think there is a gentleman from not very far from you, a doctor who has placed the what we call order for the first what we call new space systems. He was with us in Vienna in the conference, and literally the first 2 or 3 systems which is now getting released will come near you. He is with us, he is on the Zoom, and the technology will come near every one of you. In Australia will touch you very, very soon. We, with the droughts, with the shortage of water you have, with the cleaning up of many, many problems which sits like lack of energy, you have shortages of energy. We will touch everything. As we work with governments, implication becomes very easy. But now, as I said, with the breakthrough through Mark Ray Corporation in the United States stock market, the game has changed. We have massive investors who want to invest. We are not shortage of investment. We are in a way short of what we call manpower through the Keshe Foundation strength to be able to engage with these situations. So it comes back to a lot of foundation supporters to gradually move into new jobs with the foundation. If you heard this week on Thursday, we are asking for a large number of doctors around the world to join foundation. We are looking to engage, employ or place between 3,000 to 10,000 doctors in next 12 months. We are looking, if you're a doctor, you have expertise in medical or physiotherapy, foundation is searching for you. We pay very high wages because the technology we developed which is now is marketed, needs qualified doctors who can monitor the new technology in clinics we're setting up. Doctor need to be there. You have with you online Dr. Doring, who's purchased the first of these units for not very far from you, between New Zealand and Australia. Uh, in their group, they can manage with the first, maybe the second unit. Any diseases we are looking at, be it the most rarest diseases we want to handle, to show the technology is complete, to find more data. The new system, which most probably you've seen the videos of it, is multifunctional and is set up totally fully computerized. We control these from remote centers. Doctors run, but every operation, every time the machine goes on, we are in it. We see the condition of the patient, the monitoring of the condition of the patient, and the results by the time he moves out of the machine. We have shown in trials within 7 days you can walk a person from the wheelchair with diseases off. In China we have shown in 14 days, less than actually 14 days, to reduce tumors from 16 by 18 centimeter by 5 to 3 by 5 centimeter tumor. This is radical, it's never done. Literally, as doctors take pictures every day, they see the size of the tumor disappearing. But the beauty of it is, there is no side effect. You don't take any medication. It's a natural process. And one of the biggest advantages with the plasma technology which we have put out is there is no waste. There is no side effect. There is no residue which we need to clean up. We see people, even with a cancer, that they decide the point of their own death because they don't die of cancer. It's the time they decide to leave. It's a very strange, if you put the data through medical side, it's shocking how the world of medicine has changed. In the new machines that is near you, it's coming up in January, you can walk into the machine, spend 2 times a day, half an hour in it, and in 2-3 months, start living totally different life. We did a test in the conference in Vienna. We brought a sample style of this system into the conference. And people, literally everyone who was in the conference, queued up to sit in it for 15 minutes. And we're getting reports, they're sending us report after 3 weeks. People's life have changed. The pain they had, the way they saw the life, it's all they want positive. We are going to publish the list of the people who use the systems in conferences. And we asked them just to report to us. For the first time, when you go into the system, it's not there for a prostate cancer that you might help you with. It goes not only helping the prostate cancer, but it goes to see what was the cause of it in the emotion which caused it. And it's never been done. You go for medication, it just tries to target, to destroy or change something. With this technology, when you go into these new systems, it's tuned to the emotion. It's tuned to the feeling you have, what caused you the disease. Why we face these kind of perils in our lives which we cause ourselves. Why do we get Parkinson? Why do we get Alzheimer's? They told us we get old. No, it's the emotion which cannot handle the physicality. We shut down, we don't want to know. In China, we see people with Alzheimer's using this new technology by being in it for more or less 2 sessions a day, 15 minutes. They change. They want to live. We see elderly people which they're old, the body is there, but the emotion changes and the body changes with it. It gives dignity back to people. And it gives a lot of joy to families that they get their members back. It's not a burden, it's a pleasure. When I sit in medical sessions with doctors around the world and monitor case by case, I see a change in life, not the man, but the family and the society. You got to realize this will come most probably to most of you in next years when we get Alzheimer's or when we get Parkinson. We know it goes to more medication, goes to more or less cabbage state on the stages, and the man physically is there, doesn't do much, but the brain, the torture of thoughts of deaths and everything else, everybody's there. I cannot communicate, I cannot do, brings more pain to the patient than we ever knew. Now you see the family, the wife, the children, everybody moves to help, to be there. They change their lifestyle, they change their plans. They know there is no way out. And with our patients, we see the reverse comes very rapidly. The school of thoughts of death and being on your own cage in your brain becomes a hope of walking, becomes walking in the less than a few days, and then the life starts again. One of our patients who could not speak and was literally paraplegic, the first thing after 4 days, I was sitting in the chair in the hospital, to his wife was very simple. Now we can go on holidays. I want to take you on a holiday. And when you stand in front of the man who never shown emotion to his child, for the first time gives a hug to the child, 30 years old, and he cries and she cries. I asked her, what's the reason? She says, it's the first time he has hugged me. He never shown emotion. And changes people. It'll change the society. The beauty with this technology is it's going to touch every single man on this planet. Give me time. We see in China the food increase by 80%, 120%, 250%, brings a rapid national security to China. But you have to look at the other side of the coin. In China, a farmer usually has 5, what we call more, about 3,000 square meters per family. If you are not industrialists, all the farmers, there are 28 million farmers in poverty in China. Average land about 3,000 square meters per family. All they could earn from it is around about 1,000 RMB, which is about $150 a year. Poverty line in China is 3,200 RMB, which is around about 400, just around about 400 euro, $450. A farmer sells his product for, let's say, 1,000 RMB, which is average per mole, which gives him 3,000 RMB a year income. It costs him 2,000 RMB for the seed, for fertilizers and everything else, so he's left with the 1,000. That has covered the base cost. Now the farmer increases the harvest by double. What we see in China, 2.5 times is normal. Just let's say 1,000. Now the same land, instead of giving 3,000, it gives 6,000. His expenses has reduced because now he doesn't buy fertilizer, he doesn't buy pesticide. His cost, even we say at 2,000, he leaves him with 4,000 instead of 1,000. Government is not giving handout to the farmers. Government is giving nothing to the farmers, but the farmers walk out of poverty. I was stood in the farms in China with the farmers who used to look if they can afford feeding the children. In past 2 years, they go out to restaurants. They can buy clothing for their children. This is where the change comes. Not just by bringing health, we are getting involved heavily in changing course for governments. In Iran, in trials, we see farmers losing trees, pistachio trees. Now in 2 days, the trees are back. In less than 2 days, all the pests are gone. We see the same in different parts of the world. In China, as you all know, pig disease is devastating the country. 200 million pigs have been slaughtered in past 12 months. The Chinese have gone to the American market to buy pigs because of the African pig flu. We have shown now, we are on our 10th trial this week, that we can change it in 3 days. We, from last week, gone into the food, animal food care in China. Now we have developed a GANS process that is added into the food of the animal, that they never get any viruses or any diseases. They do not need antibiotics anymore, which the change comes to all of us. The animal is given so much chemicals that by the time we eat it, we literally are bag of antibiotics. We eat what they eat. And with the trial starting in China, we show, because we've done these trials in Italy over 3 years, we know the farms, the small pig, what you call it, cows, the calves, used to use €1 per week antibiotic. Now there is no need to antibiotic. The farmer doesn't need to buy it anymore. It changes. And we see now this in China. The cost comes down, the death rate comes down. And if you're farmers, you know what one animal means when it dies. It's part of the profit, it's part of the structure. The same way goes with us, with the space technology. We are a space program. The center in Arizona will change you. American scientists with the Iranian scientists in the space program, nobody could imagine. We have an invitation to open our factories. Arizona state government is helping us as fast as we can, that this center can be set up in next 6 months. The first Keshe Foundation Space Research Center will open in Arizona. We already have a base, we have a factory. Now changes to 100,000 square meter research space development that we can use the desert for tribes. And it's all because of you knowledge seekers. You keep going, you keep learning, and you keep sharing, and what we call is the soul of the knowledge, which is spreading than the knowledge itself. We worked hard over years to bring it across the public. Now, without you knowing, we will be using it. Doesn't matter where you are. And it's thanks to you as knowledge seekers who expand it, teach it, and is not very whisper, I'm a knowledge seekers. I'm proud to be a knowledge seekers because I can add freely to the knowledge. It's very strange when you walk among some 1.4 billion in Beijing or in Guangzhou, and a Chinese man comes to you and says, are you Mr. Keshe? What are you doing in China? And I asked them, how do you know? He says, many people know you're in China. We know you're in Beijing. Knowledge is not anymore in the hand of few, it's in the hand of people. I had a strange encounter very recently. Walked into a building to meet someone, and the woman comes and says, are you Mr. Keshe? I said, yes. She says, I use your CO2 and I make it and I give it to my friends. I said, how do you know, Mrs.? Everybody knows you in China. According to government statistics, 5% of Chinese nations somehow have been in touch or know about technology. In a very recent research, actually it wasn't research, it was an accident. The Chinese leading scientist government decided to invite a lot of lecturers and university and research centers to a 1,000-member conference in Beijing. And they told me, we will bring some of the elite scientists to speak with you. And then we'll introduce the new technology to them and let's see what they say. I waited a week. The German came back, he said, I'm coming with 2 people. And I said, okay, no problem. I said, what happened with your scientists? He said, we contacted research, space, agriculture, medicine. 95% of all the top scientists in China know you. They said, we know the technology and it's correct. So we brought these 2 guys just to see what you want from us to do. It's the same with all what we see research centers around the world. And it's all thanks to you as researchers, as knowledge seekers. Thank you for your time, but I have to explain these things that you understand. We are not alone anymore, and as part of the international organization, you are the Keshe Foundation, not us anymore. And as our friend said, I hung up my retirement clothing, gave it back, but I found new bunch of people. I'm out of retirement. And I'm sure his video somewhere in there. Try, please, to understand the technology is not CO2 or zinc oxide, or you make a GANs of something. Technology is what you want from it to be what you want to make of it. Look where you need it and convert it to what it can help you with. And look beyond a framework of a few things look at the fields of what it brings. My advice to a lot of knowledge seekers is hold a glass of water in one hand and hold a glass of Gans in the other. If you appreciate the difference, you've been touched by it. Then doesn't matter what Gans you put in the cup, because the water is water, it will not change. It gives you, satisfies your thirst, and that's it. But Gans water, depends how you created it, can touch your emotion, can change your illness, can become a power supply if you know how to use it, can, in the right condition, produce whatever you need. It's not a magic water, but it depends on how you understand it and how you utilize it. Give it to your plants, it's still a water, it grows bigger. Use the same combination in a different way, the same clear water, it can become a pesticide. The same water, if you drink it in the right way, can bring out of depression, can bring you a lot of pleasure. It's for you to understand the difference between the two water. It tastes the same, it looks the same. We've given it to many scientific organizations around the world. There is no difference in it. They cannot tell. They've done every test. And I always tell them it's very simple. Just do an alkaline test, then you know what you have. That's all it is. The water goes through your body when you drink it. Gas water, you drink it, it changes your environment. The same water. Now you have to decide how you use it, for what application. And in China we use it from concrete to agriculture to medicine to space. And it's the same water. If you understood it's you who decides what that water does, then you understand you have a new power in your head. And there's nothing more beautiful than holding a water which can save life, which can feed you, which can put you into a space, and it can bring you a lot of peace. When we put these health units in hospitals, something strange happens. People just want to sit in it. I tell them 15 minutes sitting there doesn't make any difference. But they said the people who sat in it, they say it does. That's why we just need 15 minutes. It's the same water, but we know how to play with it. And now the knowledge is yours. Try, please try to walk away from CO2, making gases of zinc or whatever. Make new gases and see what it does. And at the same time, you are in a position of wealth. See what it gives you in changing you to become a new man, to become wealth, not in financial ways, but in emotion, how you find your family. And see what gift it brings you. those days when we used to come, now we make ganses and this is over, because now we made the ganses. We have brought the benefit. Now we're changing governments. And the governments want to change, because in Australia you're very lucky, but in the West, governments cannot pay any more healthcare. They're running out of control. Governments cannot provide food because there is no more land. That's all it is. Maximum cultivation by fertilizers, everything has brought more problem. Governments have no more money to spend on defense, because defense, a fake enemy, is taking from them to govern. And as a politician said to me, you got the answer for all three. We don't need to spend much on the health. We increase our harvest, and now we know our neighbor has the same technology as us. What's the use of us spending money on it? I have changed the race, the human race way of living after thousands of years, but in a good way. Most probably by the time of your grandchildren or your children, there is not a day you pass that you have not used or been part of your life. The water you drink will be cleaned with no chemicals. The food you eat is grown with better productivity, better quality, with no chemicals. You breathe the air which is not polluted anymore, and you travel with comfort to know you're safe. In next 48 hours, one of the most advanced energy systems is delivered to most advanced companies in the world. We have broken the code of energy. Now, by Monday, Tuesday, the Huawei Corporation in China will receive, for the first trials, mobile phones which doesn't need charging. In next few weeks, most months, you carry a Huawei mobile phone in your hand, which from the day comes from the production line till the day you throw it away, never been plugged in. The time of wasting energy and product material is over. In next 6 months, 12 months, you'll drive most probably a Mercedes or a Tesla car, which will never be plugged to the wall. This is not a theory. The technology is released to them on Sunday. They're testing it next week, in next 6 months. And literally what it means, it'll be one of the most adopted technologies around the world, very rapidly. Zero pollution. The beauty of it is, as I said in the teaching on Thursday, when you get rid of a Tesla car, you haven't finished with it. You still got 6,000 batteries which are going to damage the environment for years to come. The new batteries invented have no residual, there is no waste. And the transition is very simple. The whole energy power industry has changed. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was in the lab till 10, 11 o'clock last night, making sure that when Huawei opens up the box to put their phone in it, they'll never need charging again. When the car manufacturers next week test their batteries, they can run a battery for years to come, doesn't need to be charged, doesn't need to be lied to. You, if you understand how you've been lied to, with all these Tesla cars you buy, you think you buy it green, you're actually more black than green. Because the energy doesn't come from the sky. The energy comes from a power station burning coal, or a nuclear power station somewhere that you don't see. With your car, when you put the fuel in, you see the exhaust, what you put in the environment. With electric cars, it's done somewhere else, you don't see it, it's not green, and it's actually less efficient. Now, with this new technology, there is nothing to burn. And there's as much power as you need when you need it, and it changes the environment. And the beauty of it is, Tesla cars will be reduced by €100,000 in a coming time. Because when you buy a Tesla car, for example, you pay huge amount of money for the free energy they give you for so many years. You can plug and play. They pay for that, you don't need to pay. But the advance payment you made for the fuel is not there anymore, because you don't need to charge anymore. All these things has come to an end. When you look at the new batteries, it's again what you made in your kitchen gases. No chemicals, no leftovers. And the beauty of it is, I was explaining to a diplomat a few days ago, when you get fed up with the battery, you just open it up and put it under your plants and it grows easier and better. When you finished with your laptop, now you have to understand how much they charge you extra in advance to get rid of the battery. You open your laptop now to use what is left in there for your plants, or maybe for something else in the house. It's a different mindset, it's a different way of doing things. We have developed a non-electric, what we call motors, by achieving perpetual motion, what you call rotation, like Earth, without any motors. This is going to touch you very soon. All this, what we look for, achieving AC to create what we call machinery rotation, now we can do without it. And we start explaining around the world what has been achieved, that you understand how you're going to be touched. We create the plasma, as you do with the gases, and we convert it into a way that it produces AC. There's a huge amount of AC sitting inside the plasma. We know how to create it, and we can convert it into electric currents that you don't need to run machineries with power line generators and grid system anymore. The machine produces its own AC according to generation of the power it needs in the gearing. Now you understand how much we are changing, and we can only do it with governments. But at the same time, we keep the teaching public, that people know what is to come, like today. That's why I start going around into different meetings, conferences around the world in past 4 or 6 weeks, because I've done my job. I finished the work in China. We opened, established United States, a European division of the Keshe Foundation, now has become a multi-million organization for itself. And it's all now will go into a direction of changing humanity. And we are not asking for anyone to finance us. In next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you will see more, where the foundation will invest in all our conferences. If you attend, in the brochures which is given to government officials, we tell them we are investing 100 million in your country. We don't want a cent from you. You cannot dictate to us, but we want the freedom to deliver our technology to public. In certain areas now we're offering €300 million investment. And the governments have never seen this. Investor which comes in doesn't want much, but is going to change a lot. And it brings new employment, new technology, and without asking for anything, because we have built the conditions for it to achieve it. We are the first scientific organization as of 2020 that asks for no public funding. And in next 3 years, we built 50 industrial zones across the planet. Minimum squareage, around about 100,000 square meter. And as I said to the Americans, I've got into the stock market to borrow money, to lend, or what you call to raise money. I've come here just to be known, to bypass Fox. Thank you very much for all of you to bring the foundation to this point. I brought the knowledge, you developed it, and knowledge seekers around the world nourish it and keep it going. We, as we said, we are there to serve and not to be served. But this has to become the ethos of the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world. Try to make a gas and give it to your neighbor and teach them how to make it and let them test it. Not everybody can make it, but commercialize it in a way that the commerce becomes love and care, not the money in the pocket. Any questions?
Have you unmuted there, Flint? Thanks. Okay, everybody. Anybody would like to ask? Come close to the computer here.
Mr. Keshe, when you refer to Fox,
I cannot hear you. You come closer.
when you refer to Fox blocking earlier releases of the technology and having to go on the stock market to bypass Fox intervention, Fox media to Australians is synonymous with Murdoch. Are there names that are attached to the people who are blocking you, and will these people fall into line once the technology reaches millions of people?
The Fox is board of directors of Fox.
Okay.
It's not individual. The reason we know why is, as you know, many what we call news anchor people, they are somehow touched or are in contact with the foundation, and they have shown us documents that is stated nothing about Keshe Foundation can be released, even if it comes as an emergency. You know, sometimes you got the breaking news, cannot be even published. It's a strict instruction by the board of directors of the Fox.
So as
Pardon?
approximately what date will you be able to get releases? You've said you've had a couple of media releases. Are they available online? When can we, the public?
No, sorry about that. I'm not breaking through. Can you repeat, please, because you have got a break.
When will the public be able to access media releases? I think you said that you had released a couple already because of the launching of the on the stock market. Are you doing an IPO, an initial public offer, Can people like me buy shares, and if so, when? Because I would like to invest.
Let me explain to you one point. I'm a scientist officially, openly, since 2000. I'm an international businessman, 40 years, at a very high level. I know all the games in the world of business, I hope enough. And what we see, to go to market, to start a market corporation, you need to have 5 years records and everything else, and all the rigmarole which goes with it. What we did, we went out and we bought a public company outright in United States 2 years ago, but we didn't announce it. The company has been in operation since 1981. So we didn't need to go and make public offers. There is 36 million shares already in the market getting traded. We reduced the open capital share from 500 million in public to 50 million 3 weeks ago, before we go to public. And so this show to the government that we are not there to borrow money, we are there to solidify for the name. You can go in the stock market and buy Mark Ray anytime. It's been traded. When we took over, it was around about half a cent, and now it went up to 22 cents. It's come down to around between 10 to 14 cents, and we are holding it to be around that price till beginning of next year. We will release enough technological data that it builds up on its own to reach $4, and then we take it to NASDAQ in next 18 months. You can buy the shares in the market. It's not offering. We are not releasing any more shares in the market. And the public releases have been 3 up to now. There is one coming up on Monday in United States, which is the confirmation of the release of the new technology by Keshe Global Corporation, not the Keshe Foundation, American operation, for the new medical systems.
What is the stock market code for Keshe Global?
You can go on Mark Ray. It's on the pink sheet, and if you just go on, it's called RVBR.
RB.
RV, Robert Victor Brother Robert.
Thank you.
And we just keep the shares, these 24 million shares, to be able to keep the public aware of the development. And you got to understand, every time we release a public release, it goes to 625,000 top investors around the world automatically on their computers, doesn't matter who you are. And
can I put this information on my Facebook?
yes, it's a public knowledge.
Oh, good. I will go back and see that.
You can go on
Facebook would like to invest.
You can use it, but we are keeping deliberately everything on a very, very low price. We can't control it, and we are not releasing data to push it up. We are releasing information till January of next year. We have a reason for it. In January, we will release our financial data. And when we release our financial data in January, it will push the price immediately to around $2 to $4 or $5 to $10. As a chairman of the company, I cannot give you any more information because I'll cross boundaries. But as a head of the Keshe Foundation, which is under the hat I wear, which gives me the freedom to speak, is we are, as we say in English, we are cooking the pot, if you understand. We are showing to governments, we are part of the structure. We are showing through our press release how we are handling it. And in the next announcements will be, because we cannot hide it, this is one of the problems, is that the new energy system, once we sign agreements with major corporations, then the pot really starts cooking. You got to realize something very important about Keshe Foundation, which is happening in the background. Keshe Foundation is the only organization in the world with Chinese government organizations, the financial arm of their operation, where for the first time, knowledge has been given the same value as finance. Usually, you are a lot of scientists, you know the game. The inventor only gets 30% shares maximum of his invention in a new company if he gets it. And then by dilution, he becomes literally 2-3% owner. For the first time with the Keshe Foundation and the Chinese government, the company set up, we are 50-50 partners. The order of Presidency, His Excellency Presidency, was this time knowledge has to have the same value. Never been done before. The board of directors of the new company is equal partnership. Keshe Foundation owns 50%, Chinese government owns 50%. Our 50% is technology and knowledge. Their 50% is 30 billion euro backing. The company set up has a cash reserve of 1 billion euro. Never been done before. And the company was registered on 29th of May of this year. Now you understand the change in the game. And a government like Chinese government doesn't invest through its organizations with no knowledge. The contractual agreements and the company setup gives the initial cash balance of 100 million, 1 billion floating cash available, 30 billion euro in agriculture, health and environment, cash backing by central government. We become one of the most powerful financial research organizations in the world, just by Chinese term. And the foundation owns 50%. Chinese are not playing the game the West tried to hide. Chinese have invested heavily with the foundation. It's in the registered companies, documents, it's in the charter. And for the first time, the government of China has agreed or accepted knowledge stands equal to finance. And now you understand where we are going. This is the difference. This difference between fox and being foxed. In so many ways, the Chinese organizations, government, I work within the elite, what we call echelons of the Chinese organizations. In the coming months, you will see Keshe Foundation name appears with Belt Road organizations of the Chinese government. We finance through the industrialization the wishes of the peace of the President Xi. You will see hospitals, you will see the schools which are fully paid for. It doesn't put nations on the burden of debts. But what we earn through the operation in the factories and industrial zones, we pay for what Chinese invest at the beginning to put it there. Governments don't need to wait. If China can borrow from the central bank or the Chinese commercial banks to build a school, and the school has to be paid for over the next 20 years by debts. Now, when we set up the industrial zones, let's say in Kenya, the income from the production, from profitability, will pay for Chinese for what they built in advance. So the development is very rapid. The payment is very rapid. And there is no burden left. But the difference is, we choose the school, we choose the teachers, and we choose the hospital and the equipment. Chinese provide the initial step. It's a big change. The third world nations don't go on the burden of the debts. Through financial operation in their own country, they pay for what they receive. It's no more slavery, as we call it, or colonization.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. My name is Neil. I'd like to introduce myself to you. I've been studying, I'm an ex-research biochemist, biologist, teacher, filmmaker. I've been studying plasma science for the last 3 odd years, and I'm currently a private student with Alexa and the rest of the team there. One of my questions was university education. Has the curriculums been written, and are there any universities currently studying? By the way, I'm also the guy who's been doing the health unit research here. I've been posting all my results on the Golden Age of GANs. You may have come across this person down south with 8 Chenlin reactors in the Merkaba that's been getting some very interesting results with a whole range of different areas. But first of all, is the university education starting to come online anywhere around the world at this point?
In Brazil has already started. In Brazil, since last June, we start training teachers to do, and the courses start, I think, when I'm there in November. You can do 180-hour courses on plasma technology. In many universities, the technology is taught by teachers who are aware of it. In so many ways, you cannot teach it. You got to understand it. We are looking in so many ways. We are in the first phase, it's already started, to set up the headquarters of the Keshe Foundation in Malta. And from there, we start the zero certificate education, which has been the way of the Keshe Foundation when we started the KFSSI. But the knowledge seeking, the teaching, it differs. I teach a lot in Iran, in Farsi, the Iranian community. They have gone totally different than the rest of the Keshe Foundation, and they have their own teachings and their research. They They are a physical research organization, the Keshe Foundation, and they teach it. They teach, the teachers in the university are teaching, the lecturers in agriculture they are teaching. It's become masters teaching, bringing technology to show. In the university structure, we don't give certificate, as you know. So it's very open. I don't see a need for the traditional teaching. The way you've seen in KFSSI, we have such a diversity of teachers, and nobody has got a certificate up to now. We have no graduates after 6 years, because the graduation comes when you've got a cancer or you got a plant you want to feed, and you make the right mixture and the plant gives you what you want from it, or you find the answer for your cancer. That's the point of examination. We carry on expanding the KFSSI from Malta next year. And we encourage language teaching. Is happening in a lot of languages. They start teaching each other, and they all got a stock by end of making GANs of zinc. And so there is no way. This is a knowledge of God. It's a knowledge of creation. How can you teach it? We can show it. We develop new technologies from it, but how can you get a degree from university and say you passed when the knowledge has been from the day you were born?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
We got with us a gentleman, I hope he's still with us, Dr. Doring. He is the gentleman who is installing the first medical system, the space units you've seen, which is coming to the arena of the Keshe Foundation in the past few weeks. He's with us, and I think it'll be nice to ask him to let us know what he thinks and what he wants to do with Australia and New Zealand as is part of the setup. He's joined us.
Mr. Keshe, he's just jumped off.
No,
Are you there? Okay, good.
Dr. Doring, would you like to tell us something, what you think from what you have brought to the little island, but a lot in Australia and New Zealand can be used by?
Well, my special interest has always been cancer therapies. And when I heard about the work, I was immediately thinking that, this is really an important chance and a breakthrough for the treatment, because it's so unsatisfactory. And I always felt it was, so unfair that, how cancer patients are treated and with what poor results. And so I'm incredibly grateful that, this possibility will so soon exist. And we're really looking forward to starting to be able to treat patients. I'm very glad we're getting your support with that.
Would you tell us where we got to go to see you? It's very remote. Hello?
Can you hear us? Yes.
I said, would you tell us more where you are, where the clinic is set up, what you envisage with the new setup?
Yes. Because of the medical legal situation, we have decided that we would start in an area where there's greater freedom than from the authorities. So we wanted to really, we've got a place in Vanuatu, in Port Vila, where which is about 3 hours from New Zealand and same from Australia with the plane. And we will install the unit to start there. And once the general acceptance is there, then we will be able to move it to New Zealand and treat from there. That's the idea.
I'd like to meet you at some time. I'm part of a group here. I've been doing a lot of research. I've healed my own problems, processed my own problems with this health unit I developed 2.5 years ago. So I think we could share quite a lot of information. Plus, my associate, Zainat, I won't say his last name, but he volunteers at a cancer dispensary using medicinal cannabis, and they have a very high success rate. When we combine that with the plasma, we've seen extraordinary results. Dr. Cornelius, who Mr. Keshe knows quite well, is also sort of guiding us along some of these lines and helping us with our research. And we'd love to offer any assistance settling in with your system when you get it, and we can also share knowledge that we have developed over the last 2.5 years, 3 years of experimenting with the plasma side of it. I have been in contact in the past with Rodrigo and Klaus, and they're very busy people, so finding we've had to go and search through a lot of this knowledge ourselves by trial and error, and I've been guinea pig number 1, and I'm still here. So thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for this technology, and we look forward to helping to spread this through the rest of Down Under. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My interest has always been as well all the complementary, cancer treatments and hypothermia and all the infusions and mistletoe and all these things, and they all are great. And we have in Vanuatu we produce this sea cucumber preparation, TBL12, which is very helpful. And if you take all of that together, you can achieve definitely improvements. It's just in many cases, you still see deterioration. And I think when we combine it now with these new possibilities, we'll really have a breakthrough for cancer treatment, and hopefully we'll be able to have less and less interventions which damage patients with chemo, radio, and very severe operations. And we can just treat with these units and support the patients with the other things, which will work well together.
The beauty with the new system, which been released, as we say in its promotion, is for the first time that we elevate the emotion of the man, or we let the man face his own emotion, which was mostly the cause of the cancer.
Yes.
And up to now, we never had any medication in conjunction with cancer to change the emotion, the feeling, what caused it. And in our cancer development over years, we have tested, we've taken the emotional part of the process out, and the success rate is more or less non-existent. And when we add the emotion to it, you'll see a totally different arena. And I think the success of this new technology on cancer is allowing the man to face his own demons, which cause his demise. And it all comes through emotion. And once you get into these systems, the way they're designed, they touch your emotion immediately. The first seconds you sit in, people who go in it, and we are testing a new versions of it. The way we have designed it, as I said, you work on 4 ganses, I work on 4,000 ganses. And we touch your emotion. You touch your own emotion. And you find out, you decide, am I going to carry on with the cancer, or I really sincerely want to live? And you make that decision subconsciously, and you will see the result. There are a lot of people out there who come to us and they say, I want to get rid of my cancer, I want to live. But subconsciously they don't want to. They see the cancer as a way out of all the miseries. But the lips speak different than the soul. And it does not matter what kind of illnesses. With this technology, you face your own reality, because you decide. With the honesty between the, as I call the lips and the soul together speaking the same language. And death comes to all of us. It's not end, it's the beginning of another cycle of life. But we decide the time and the place without suffering. I've seen many, many cancer patients that they come to you, says, Mr. Keshe, I want to go. I have to pretend I want to be cured, but I want to go. Because my loved ones, my children want to hear me, I love them. This is the difference with the new technology.
I think that it's very, very true that, you know, this access to the real will to heal is very, very difficult sometimes, and the key is in everybody's hand. And you know, at the end of the day, consciousness, everything is consciousness, and it's always been a riddle how to involve that. And so I look very much forward to these new possibilities.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your trust and support. We will release the name of the clinic and Dr. Doring's team by December. We expect the system to be in its place by January, and from there we see how we build up and how the technology takes roots from there on to New Zealand and Australia with the new releases. Thank you very much.
And thank you for putting me in touch with all these wonderful people, that we are part of a community for this new treatment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? I think you Australians, if you have any kind of problem like Parkinson or cancer or whatever, you are the very first groups which will have access to new technology to test and to use. The system going to Dr. Doring is one of the first ones, because when he saw it in Vienna, for the first time we disclosed in the conference in Vienna, he said, I want one. And more or less every doctor who was present in the conference has already purchased one. And even the business people who were in the conference who had access to medical, they have already placed order for 1 unit, because they could understand what it can do. And It's not a cheap system, it's 150,000 euro. And it's a very large investment for doctors, but doctors who care for their patients, they can see what it does. And they sit in the machine themselves because we have a small replication of the machine with us, and they feel it. It's not something remote. How many of you have asked your doctor when he gives you a tablet for cancer, do you want to take one yourself first? Dr. Doring has already been in the system. He knows how he feels.
Mr. Keshe, could I ask you please to explain or elaborate a little bit about how the new system actually is like a womb, and that it creates a universe inside, a plasmatic universe inside the unit?
It's taken us, or taken me, nearly 40 years to develop this technology, this system. You got to understand a little bit background about my life. From the day I opened my eyes, I can recall back being a young boy, 8, 9 years old. I have walked across X-ray machines and every other medical machine you can imagine uses radiation. Being the son of the directors of the Philips International Medical System in Middle East, being the eldest son, my father was proud that he can carry his son everywhere with him. And I walked through every hospital you can imagine. And I've heard when you're a young boy, you sit around, people think you don't understand, but you listen to a lot. How people suffer, what happens, what the machines are for. And I understood the early stages that these machines are machines. They have no soul. They don't carry anything to people. They're just there to show instance of no life. But there was more to life. When the first MRI systems came out, I was so excited. I was a young boy, 14 years old, that age. I wrote to my father back to Iran. I was living in Europe at that time. I said, they found the solution. We can do something with this. We can go in it. And my father said to me, you're too anxious to get these things, huh? You always wanted this. And I studied at that time with my father the MRI system, which was coming from Philips. And I remember my father telling me, you see things different than the rest of us. But one day you get your machine the way you want it. And this machine is what I wanted. It's the way we are created. It's the womb of the mother. It has love and care balanced right across it. Doesn't matter if you're a head high or bottom up. In the womb of mother, you rotate and you take all the energies and beauties of what is available. You're in a liquid of plasmas, what we call in the womb of the mother. I have created that condition without the water. But now when you go inside it, it's a place where everything you need, emotionally, physically, psychologically, you receive. It's not you receive, it's available for you to take. It's the availability which counts. And it's literally, it's a womb. We shut the door and it's yours. You take from it what you need. And this time, You cannot lie to yourself, because unusually there is a structure in this machine that is connected to the emotion and the soul of the man. I developed this originally some 30 years ago, and Dr. Doring can tell you, anybody who sat in the machine has a heartbeat, exactly like a heartbeat of a man. You can see it. And people could see their emotion through the heartbeat of the machine. It's a physical. And one German guy wanted to stop the heartbeat, and he stopped it for a few seconds. And as people changed, we could see the change in the rhythm of their heart. It's the first time ever a system is developed which shares your emotion, which takes from what is pain in the emotion of the man and replenishes it with balance, peace. And we will never divulge or release the true essence of the technology behind it. The people, the team which works with me, have sworn to secrecy. And they have signed non-disclosures tight that will never release the true essence, what is in the center of every machine. It is designed, developed to work with the soul and not with the physicality of the man. But the physicality is the elevation of the soul. It's just the end product, as I say. Once you go in it, you feel it. It's like I'm home. I've come where I wanted to be.
And Mr. Keshe, these units then are essentially are their own beings.
There are many beings.
If it has a heartbeat and a soul, it's a being.
You hear the heartbeat. You see the heartbeat. The systems, you see their heartbeat. And it goes click, click, like a heart. The rhythm constantly at 120 heartbeats per minute. It's you who balances up to it. And because it's at a peaceful level, it's at the, what we call balance of emotion. It brings you to that balance of emotion. And you'll find out we are not there to change the cancer. It's you who decides the cancer is not me. The way you created it, it's the way you get rid of it.
Can I ask why you won't release that information? Is there a reason for secrecy behind how the unit's designed?
Pardon? I can't hear you. Can you come close to the microphone?
Can I just ask why you're swearing in the secrecy and you aren't going to release the information on how you create the unit? Is that commercial or is there some spiritual reason for that?
Mankind is not ready for this knowledge. That's the only reason. mankind is not ready to understand this part yet. If you listen to the teaching on Thursday, I explained very simple. We, for every so many units sold, we put one in one prison. And I said to the Americans, I want the most notorious prisons in America and give me the one machine. You will see there'll be no criminals in less than a year in those prisons. You don't need to change a man in a prison to a Christian or a Muslim to make a Muhammad Ali or somebody else out of them by the name of something, and then they become fanatic in that direction. You just elevate their souls that they find their own, what I call, prophet within them. And then there's always a just and correct. And this is the purpose of these systems. We see a lot of development, and we see a lot of truth. People will change because they live through the reality, not to the facade of what they think or they want to show. You're not ready. Mankind is not ready for this level. But in so many ways, we have to bring man to this level, and that's what I've decided. It's not a game, it's a game changer. In most of the countries we go, we demonstrate this unit as we deal with ministers and head of states. I invite them to sit in the machine for 15 minutes. I make a new president out of him. The way I want, the way to be peaceful. The leaders who walk from this machine are the leaders. We know what their thoughts are. Because everyone will receive enough what they need. And so the change comes from within, not from outside. In a way, when we say we don't let people know, it's in my teaching, but you haven't listened. So what you haven't listened, we keep back till you hear. I teach everything, but somehow human beings are deaf. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Keshe, it's Doug. Apart from these individual units, there are 7-point-something billion people on the earth, just humans. Is there a further development of this where perhaps the whole atmosphere of the planet can change, and people that probably would never be able or willing to get into one of these units, and they also can be uplifted, their emotions brought to balance?
Thank you very much, Doug. Now I see the man in face. I know by voice. This is the man who found you.
I hope that the camera lens doesn't crack.
Yeah, it's nice to see you, Doug.
It's a shock, hey, Flint?
Yeah.
You thought I looked like Cary Grant?
Yeah.
I think, as I said, I tell a lot. People don't hear, they're deaf, or people don't, because they don't know what it means. It means nothing to them. The answer to your question is very simple. I think since we started this session, I mentioned two names and you never listened. The company Huawei, which is the mobile phone, they are the biggest developers of internet and masks for communication in the world. We reach the 7 point whatever billion plus every cat, dog and fish through Huawei. You buy the phone. Huawei is one of the very few organizations outside Samsung which provides the full, from the handphone to the masks to communication to computers to hardware. And I've chosen Huawei especially for that reason. We can transmit through the same telephone lines as you receive your mobile phones, everything mankind needs. A bigger version of these machines, which is now developed, it'll be tested in the next 12 months with Huawei in China. We can dictate the harvest growth. It's very much, you know which mask cover which area. And if in that area you're growing only rice, you need the same, what we call plasmatic field in that area for rice. We can change where there is a corn to corn. We've tested this, it works. In the next years to come, part of the collaboration with Chinese government is launching over 6,000 satellites in the coming years. The original plan is 600 miniature satellites to stay in orbit for different application. And most of these will be supplied through internet corporations with the technology development, and we become part of it. So I don't need to put a machine. The machines are there for individuals, but in the background, we develop, deliver new plasma, what we call technologies, which will be received by everybody. And I don't need to choose. You carry a mobile with you, you're at my reach anywhere. You got to look at the mobile phones, you look at the present communication system, the present mass system, in the way we look as a plasma, what we call dispatch units. We can decide the rain, we can decide to change the course of hurricanes. We've tested it. We're not talking theoretical. A lot of things has been done which is not in public domain. And is, as I said in the teachings very recently, and I keep on repeating because people will understand, this is not just we talk. We patented it in 2005. It's in the patent. Now we're showing it. Because we had the knowledge at that time, now we show it. This new medical system is in the patent. We're showing it for the first time. Because we left it to many people, they never developed it. One of the first people who actually went out to do, but they somehow they didn't finish it, they're still in the process of learning, is Lisa and Jim. They were the very first there ones to try a bottle in the water. As I said that time, it was a message in a bottle, which the plant got it, but the humans didn't get it. How they grew their lettuces and what the changes they saw. If you can put one bottle and change thousands of lettuces, you can imagine what I can do with more knowledge, with a little bit on a mask, and I can transmit it so easily through highway system. We are working very closely at the very high levels, but if we tell people what we do, it'll create chaos. It's the same. You decide when you walk into the machines with Dr. Doring, I would like to have a fish and chips and a peanut butter. I walk into the machine and you see you have the peanut butter and the fish and chips. Then do I need you to go to the shop to buy peanut butter? And let me know when is the next time you eat after you come out, after your wish. Mankind has not understood the operation of his own physical body. You crave for something and you walk to McDonald's to satisfy the crave with a Big Mac. Now you walk to the machine, you get the energy and the same feeling, and that's it. There is no McDonald's. You just put the money in the pocket, or you pay to Dr. Doreen for it. It'll be one of the most expensive McDonald's you ever had. You will see as you test these systems, you will go, or people will go to Dr. Doreen with cancer, and they come out and they die of cancer. Then you say, why? Because the system gives them the right to choose, which they never had before. This time the physicality doesn't lie to the soul and vice versa. And they will tell you, this is what I've chosen. I very recently, very recently, we had a case monitored by doctors. The lady wanted to have a holiday, to live for a few weeks, and then she wanted to die. I sat on the table with her daughter. I said, what's the reason? She said, I just want to have a holiday for my daughter to remember, but I'm in love with my husband and he died last year. There's no use to be here. I want to go. She had a massive cancer. Doctors couldn't find anything after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. She went on holiday for 2 months. And she said to her daughter, I had my time I didn't have before. Now it's time to go to your dad. She said, take me to hospital. She said, you don't have anything. She says, now it's time to go. She went to the hospital and died 3 days later. We have the freedom. And this time nobody can lie. And if you want, I can play her recordings. It's on my mobile phone. You cannot lie anymore to yourself, sorry about that. But you can enjoy all the pleasures of it. Shall we call it a day? Thank you very much for your time. I hope we can help you now. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much for coming to see us today, Mr. Keshe. It was great to have you.
Thank you indeed. I hope we can join you more.
We'd love to have you, and I'd just like to say thank you to Irene and her team for organizing this wonderful meeting today, and all the rest of you guys for supporting everything so well. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
and thank you very much for letting me take part.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Dr. Dora.
Okay, everybody, are we going to close the meeting down? I'm going to close the meeting down. Thanks, everyone, for a wonderful meeting. I'm going to
Bye.